I'm just about ready to pull the engine and transmission out of this V6 Mustang. And the reason they're coming out is because the engine has been hurt. And that's okay, because the plan is to take this 5-liter Coyote engine, transmission, basically everything from this donor car, and transplant it into this V6 body, which is pretty good. I didn't film the points up to now because it's just pretty basic stuff. Disconnect everything on the engine. Like I say, the accessories are already pretty much disconnected. So is fuel line, electrical connections. There's a bunch of electrical connections on the transmission. And I had to take the cross member off the transmission and lower it down because there's 3 that are tough to get to on the top of the transmission. A little bit tricky too getting to the bolts on the exhaust manifold, take the catalytic converters off, but use long extensions and an impact. That worked okay. So I'm hoping everything's free. Now I just have to disconnect the motor mounts up front. And I'm just waiting for a little bit of help to arrive so I can have a hand taking the hood off. And it's probably good to have an extra set of eyes too when this thing's coming out of here. Well, the engine and transmission are out. Went smoother than I thought it would. It took about half an hour, 45 minutes. My brother came over and gave me a hand, and it wasn't too bad. So the next job is to split the engine and transmission. Engine's going to go off for scrap, and I just called to see what scrap prices are, and they're pretty bad right now. About $87 a ton, so that makes that engine worth maybe 20 bucks. So if I take that in and the catalytic converters on this car, I might have enough to buy my wife lunch at McDonald's. Transmission though is still got some value to it. It's a low mileage car here. It's about 115,000 kilometers, 70,000 miles. So I'll be advertising that soon. So if you know of someone that needs a transmission in the northwestern United States or Western Canada, have them leave me a comment on YouTube and I'll give them a good deal. It's a 5-speed automatic 5R55. As far as some tips on getting the engine and transmission out of here, I had to remove the front bumper cover to get enough room for my engine hoist. I've got it extended out as far as it'll go, but I was still basically touching the hydraulic cylinder on the front of the car. I tried pulling off this metal bumper too. There's 8 bolts that hold it on, but it's glued as well as bolted on there, and so I decided not to do that, and I still was able to make it work with that in place. At the back of the K-member, right next to where the catalytic converters are, there was a bar that went across. And you can see it down there next to the transmission cross member. It's a bar with 4 bolts in it. That was hanging up the transmission oil pan when it was coming out, so we'd crawl underneath and unbolt that. And once we had that unbolted, it made it much easier. I also had a wiring harness that was caught on one of these brackets with the chains on it for the engine hoist. Had to free that. And as I mentioned before, there's those 3 connectors on the top of the transmission that you have to drop the transmission down to get at before you pull it out. Another thing that helped, I think, was to have the car sitting up on jack stands a little bit. It allowed the transmission to kind of swing back as we lifted it up, and also too, it allowed us to get underneath and get at those bolts for that that bar that we removed. If it would have been sitting on the ground, I don't think we'd have been able to do that without having the car lifted up a little bit. So I'm not sure what I'm going to do next, whether I'm going to strip out the interior or work on the rear end of the car, take the rear end gas tank and all that type of stuff out. But next time I have a major milestone, I'll post another video.